He's Joe Reinagle. I'm Jason Minix. In at New Orleans, our AA Best Bail Bonds Radio Row coverage continues. Will Gavin joining us now.
Oh, hey.
Radio presenter from TalkSport, who was just telling us about an embarrassing moment that he had earlier today on Radio Row with Fred Warner. And I've got, you're a professional, Will. You put it up on a tee. What was more embarrassing? Your incident with Fred Warner, which we'll tell that story, or what happened to you last night at the bar?
Have you seen the video of me last night at the bar? There's a video.
There's video of this.
There's video evidence.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I don't know how good that's going to be on radio, but I will show you the video right now if you'd like to see the fact that I fell asleep in a bar last night.
So a fat dude passed out at a bar. I mean, we've all seen that video.
Sorry, you're from Texas.
Was it worse than what happened to you in Vegas?
No.
Okay.
I'd say not. I would say not. Look, Vegas was wild. For people who have heard me on the show before, which is probably all three people that care about British man being on American radio, normally when these embarrassing incidents happen to me, it's because I have gone too hard or embarrassed myself. This year, it's very much because I became a father this year. I became a father to twins this year, and that is wild, right? I haven't slept for 9 months. I haven't really drunk for 9 months. I've had the occasional beer here and there, maybe one after work, a quick one before going home, but I haven't got drunk in maybe even closer to a year. And so I went to the media party last night and I get plied with cocktails left, right, and center. And I'm eating glazed beignets by the dozen. And that makes for a sleepy bear. And I got to the dive bar we went to. And honestly, I fall forward and the glasses fall off my face onto the floor. It's horrific.
Who carried you home?
Nobody. We just got in a taxi and
okay.
I was fine. This is the point. I wasn't hammered. I wasn't oh, you can't even. It wasn't there's no way we're going to get Joe. It's just we need to wake this guy up, like a bit of a slap in the face, splash him with some cold water, and I'm fine and I'm ready to go again. I've had nights like that where I've then got a second wind and gone back out. I'll have you know, but not last night.
That was Vegas.
Last night we were in bed by midnight.
Well, and the time I've known Will, which, it's been, about 3-4 years now, I guess. You know how to party. I mean, you're good at it.
That's so kind. That might be the nicest thing anyone said to me today. And genuinely, when I say, you talked about my embarrassing incident with Fred Warner earlier. Can we roll back to the start of that interview where, as you guys know, and I'm probably going to get kicked off the station in 4, 3, 2, I'm a Niners fan. Fred Warner is the best player at his position, probably of the last decade. Going to the Hall of Fame, first ballot, absolutely no. But he could retire today, and I think he goes to the Hall of Fame. Maybe not first ballot, but he is the very top, and he's also a lovely man. And I've interviewed him on Zoom 2 or 3 times over the last 2 or 3 years. He sees me in person. He walks over. He says, "Will, it's so lovely to do this in person," and gives me a big hug. And I melt into a puddle on the floor. Genuinely, it's like my childhood crush had just turned up and told me that, she's still the age she was when I was 16. And for one night only, fair game. I just melted. And so that's why I embarrassed myself in front of Fred Warner, because he turned my heart into mush.
So you couldn't open a pin. I mean, that's the gist of it, right?
Yeah. So at the end of the interview, I wanted to get him to sign my football on the table. We do it with all the big name players. It's not just a thing I wanted to do with Fred Warner. So I had a ball to take home. I am considering buying a second ball just to replace it and keep that one for myself. And I handed him the pen, and I hadn't taken the plastic off. I then took the pen back off him to try and take the plastic off. Couldn't get the plastic off. Colin Wolfe starts doing it, who's due up to be on next with us from NFL Network. She can't get it off. We're all fumbling with it. All of this is on camera. And then Fred Warner goes, I hand it here. Takes it back off me and just snaps it straight off. No problem whatsoever. And I look like the biggest wimp that has ever existed in the history of time. So I went from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows very quickly.
And are you going to keep the pen? Don't let anybody else use it?
Nobody else is allowed to touch that pen, that ball, the desk, the headset, none of it.
I mean, because you bring so much stuff from London. Like every Super Bowl, you buy all this memorabilia on the TalkSport dime, I assume.
Absolutely not.
And and then you bring it out, and you've got this museum of past Super Bowl logoed stuff.
Right. So it's my little weird thing that I do is that, I mean, you guys always go home, right? So you Friday, you're out of here, you're home, and you get to watch the game at home and have a grill or whatever you guys are going to do. By the way, Jason on Instagram, in the middle of the night, all of the frigging time while I am feeding my kids, and I go and I see him, he's cooking ribs, he's cooking wings, he's cooking. I'm like, this is like, what have I got? Like a dry bit of toast that I can quickly get together before I've got to feed the other one. It's devastating to me, Jason. I need you to cook for me sometime, please and thank you. I forgot what my point was now. I've lost it. I've completely lost it.
Food porn will do that to you.
Yeah, absolutely. What was I saying?
I have no idea.
I don't
About all the
remember.
stuff that you buy.
Right. So yeah, on the Monday of Super Bowl after the game, the shop, the big store here at Radio Row, everything other than for the winning team is half price. They do 50% off all of the logo tat, all of the losing team stuff, everything is sold off super cheap. And as a media member, you can sneak in that shop about an hour before it actually opens and go and have your pick of it. It's great. I have spent so much money on that. I literally I've brought a second suitcase with me before to fill with just tat. And so I don't keep lanyards from games. I don't keep the tickets from games. Everyone has like these things that they will collect and have their little thing. My little thing is I find the worst piece of rubbish that I can get from the shop. I really wanted to swear then, but I feel like I should be professional.
Yes.
Just the tattiest nonsense that I can find. And I'm like, that's the thing for me this year. So it has been in the past. Fake Lego of the Super Bowl logo. I've got a paperweight. I've got a bobblehead. do you remember fidget spinners? I've got a Super Bowl 52 fidget spinner from Minnesota. And so for every Super Bowl, I just collect one bit of just awful memorabilia. From Miami, I've got a paperweight, which is like surfboards with the logos on. One of those snapped off on the travel here, but it still looks all right. If anything, better than it's broken. I can't think what the worst thing I have, but there are some. Last year, I really ran out. Like, I've avoided golf balls up until now, but I think that's probably inevitable at some point. Last year, I bought a straw beach hat with the NFL logo on, and that's what my Super Bowl 58 piece of tat was.
Now,
That
do
one,
you
that
wear
one-
that?
That one didn't come with us.
Do you wear that?
No, we live in the world of Zoom interviews. It's all on my wall and on the shelves behind me while I'm doing my interviews with Fred Warner for TalkSport back in the UK. So yeah, you get to see it all if you watch our YouTube channel. That's TalkSport End Zone. Go and subscribe now for more NFL nonsense in a British accent.
You've got to sell that a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm tired. It's been a long, long day. Like, you need to get me on.
You got a nap last night at the bar. I mean, come on.
You've got to get me on at the start of the show. I was so buzzing earlier on. And we've got a crazy morning tomorrow morning. Like, we've got 10 interviews in the first 2.5 hours of the day. And so I'm like, tonight is a sensible one. I'm going to go home. I'm going to go back to the hotel. I'm going to get some sleep, get myself ready for the game. I'm doing play-by-play on Sunday, and I've done very little prep for it.
I mean, you've seen these teams before. It was 2 years ago. I mean, and that's the one of the cool things. You get to do the game, the play-by-play in London.
Yeah, very cool. It's honestly, we spoke with Ross Tucker yesterday. He is like the maven of early week Radio Row, right? It's like, God, we need some guests. It's fine. Ross Tucker's here. He'll come on. He obviously does play-by-play stuff for Westwood Wad, and I mentioned to him, like, listening to him on the radio and enjoying it, and he said, like, it's cool that you do play-by-play. Would you want to do that full time? And I'm like, well, yeah, but name me the NFL team who is going to make their permanent play-by-play guy for their team a British guy, like, who is until we
Jacksonville
get a team,
when they move,
which is never going to happen. I'm telling you that now. I'm putting my cards on the table. I don't think we ever see a team abroad, not in our lifetime at least. They're never going to. San Francisco aren't going to turn around and go, Greg Papa's retiring. Do you know who we should hire? That British guy. That's not going to annoy our audience at all, that he's speaking in this weird accent and saying things like "blimey" when, like, a play goes wrong, or, like, you know. Just, yeah.
So, Will, I've got to ask you. I mean, the Super Bowl starts here at 5:30. What time is that in England?
11:30 for kickoff. So we go on air about an hour beforehand. We've got a really great team this year, actually. So it's myself, a guy called Jeff Reinbold, who coached. He's coached in the CFL and in college football for a long time, but he's a guy who worked in NFL Europe, and so he was on TV in the UK when, like, we first started showing the NFL week in, week out, like 25 years ago. And so he's a bit of like a broadcasting legend in the UK. No footprint here. great dude. Like, he's a special teams coach in CFL for years, and now he's coaching D-line at like Hawaii in college. But stupid knowledge of football. And then Greg Rosenthal from NFL Daily, he's our third voice kind of in the booth with us, and it's going to be a lot of fun, man. Like, we're just gonna shoot the breeze.
Are there parties and stuff? I mean, at 11:30 at night?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Really? Yeah.
The last Super Bowl I did not here. Well, I'll tell you about the last two I did, because the last one I didn't come to was 48 with the Broncos Seahawks massive blowout. And we did a party ourselves with the guys who used to come to Radio Row a lot, Matt Sherry and Little Ollie and those guys. Our podcast did our own party in London at this bowling alley that had these huge screens and did massive pizzas, and about 400 people bought tickets, and it was amazing, like really, really good night. Except I had to leave the party at about 10 p.m. to go to the radio station to host the Super Bowl off tube while we had a commentary coming from Westwood One, and we were throwing to and from the commentary, and me and another guy were just in studio in the UK. So that's when I decided I'm not doing this anymore. I don't care if I have to pay for myself to go. And I did that for the first 4 years. I am going to the Super Bowl from here on out. I reckon I can get credentials via working for TalkSport. We're making this happen. The one before that, though, 47, the Ravens 49ers. Now, imagine this. Your team is in the Super Bowl, right? First time in your lifetime as well, or at least as a fan. I was 6-7 years old the last time they won a Super Bowl. They won a Super Bowl, right? First Super Bowl of my adult life. My team are in it. It kicks off at 11:30 in the UK. We're hosting a Super Bowl party downtown in London. I have been drinking since about 6. I have been playing. Yeah, maybe. No comment. I have been doing games on stage. I have been getting people to, do all sorts of crazy like jersey swaps and things like this. Like, we've been trying to create this real atmosphere for this party. And then the first half happens and we're getting blown out. And I'm like, right, this is already pretty rough. Beyonce puts on a great halftime show. I'm on stage trying to still give it the big one, my Frank Gore jersey, thinking I'm cool. And then I get to the point where I'm probably like borderline last night where I'm going to fall asleep. And suddenly the lights go out. And I have to sit there and stew. Like, you thought that stadium was in darkness. I was a man in darkness, sat in this bar with all of these people wanting to come up and chat to you. And we had a former player there they wanted to come and take photos with and stuff. And I'm just like... And then we nearly did it. We nearly came back. We came out to the UK this year to do a 49ers watch-along party. And I said to him, like, so end of the fourth quarter, first and goal from the 7, probably the best goal line, at least the best back of his generation for just being that guy that falls forwards, always gets the extra couple of yards. They hand the ball to LaMichael James once, and then they throw 3 end zone fades to Michael Crabtree. How is Greg Roman, the most run-obsessed offensive coordinator in the history of the NFL, not giving Frank Gore the ball? And I felt myself getting angry about it again. And Frank just had to go, you're going to have to ask Rowe. That wasn't my decision. I was like, yeah, I bet it wasn't.
That's hilarious. Will Gavin from TalkSport, radio presenter. We call ourselves talk show host. You're a radio presenter.
I'm a radio presenter. It's very classy. It's what it says on my card. Yeah.
What I'm really impressed with is you sat down and actually put the headsets on yourself.
There was a producer back at base who assumed that I just had somebody coming around and caddying it for me, like with a silver tray to and just like wiping my mouth for me and making sure that I'm drawing out both sides evenly.
What kind of comparisons do people get? Like, somebody on our YouTube says right now, is that Seth Rogen acting British?
There's a very funny Scottish comedian called Frankie Boyle who very acerbic, very like sometimes says things which are borderline, like might get you cancelled kind of thing. He once described it very like there's a swimmer who won a bunch of gold medals for the UK, but had like wasn't necessarily the most aesthetically pleasing human being, and he described it as she looked like a human being looking in the back of a spoon. But he as he's got further in his career has developed a big beard and put on a bit of weight. So I get a lot of Frankie Boyle has let himself go. I have had Seth Rogen a lot as well. I do. Yeah, this it comes with the territory.
You're Will Gavin.
Yeah, I reckon. How many times do you think in your lifetime you've had somebody text you to say, "Oh, I thought I saw you in the street, but it was somebody else." Like, "Oh, I swear I saw you on the bus. Were you in this part of the city the other day?" Like, no, I was at home grilling some meat. Assume that's all you do when you're not presenting radio.
Yeah, pretty much.
How often has that ever happened to you? How often does it happen to you?
Look at me. I don't get that very often. There every now and then somebody will say I saw you and that wasn't me.
Right. Joe, does it happen to you often?
It does. Yeah, I get
Okay.
Yeah, I get confused with the weather guy at the TV station.
Right.
So
okay. So you've got a specific one.
Yes.
There is a blindness to overweight bearded ginger men, but apparently we do all look the same. And you'll be surprised because when you're overweight and ginger, it's actually legally binding. You have to grow a beard. Otherwise, they extricate you from the UK. And I get it, I would say 5 or 6 times a year, where somebody will take a photo and go, "Thought I saw Will on the bus." That was just another fat ginger bloke. Like, thanks, guys.
Fat ginger bloke.
Thanks, guys.
Conan O'Brien put on weight and has a beard.
Hey, he's a funny man and very successful.
Yes, he is.
Yes,
I
he
will
is.
take it. Maybe it hurts that it's always people way more famous than me. That's the only thing that maybe I take to heart.
I think that's the compliment.
Yeah.
It's way more famous.
Way more famous.
I mean, imagine it was something like, I'm more famous than that guy. Right?
Oh, don't
know
let
you.
it fool you. He is famous.
Oh,
This guy's hugely famous.
Famous.
I'm famous amongst the 3 people currently sat at this table, and there's maybe 9 other people on Radio Row who know who I am, and that is pretty much it. I've been coming here for 10 years, right? And it is really funny. Every time we bring somebody new, they see like the reaction I get when I like meet you guys, and there's like a bunch of guys from Raiders Radio and like the 49ers guys, obviously, who aren't here this week. Greg Papa and John Lund haven't come this week because, and I quote from a text from Greg Papa, nobody in the Bay Area wants to talk about Eagles Chiefs. So they just haven't bothered coming this year. People see the response I get and really oh my God, it's like you're a minor celebrity. It's like, no, I've just drunk with all these people and they know that I will go out with them. So
that's it. And that's it. But you are, I mean,
I'm their excuse is what I am.
Yes.
Oh, but it's the British guy's fault.
Yes,
we went out with
is.
the Brits. That's why.
We try to keep up with you, and it's impossible.
That's it. We always blame the Brits.
Yeah, always.
Like tonight, we were
Americans have been doing it for a very long time. Nothing new.
We're gonna go have a
Since the
dinner.
1700s.
Take it easy
Blame us for
tonight,
everything.
and then we'll get a text. And where you guys at? Let's meet up here. And the easy night ends up being. Well,
I might come dressed in like full red coat gear next year. Just like I started to tweet every 4th of July, just something along the lines of like, happy backstabbing day or something like that. Like, I've got a lot of American followers. They get a kick out of it.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
and people should
That's
follow
funny.
you. I don't have the Twitter up in front of me.
That's fine. At Will Gav is where you'll find me personally, but I'm not very good on Twitter. I'm not very good on social medias and stuff like.
You're so full of it.
No, genuinely, I don't. When I have a down moment, like we're here at Radio Row and you've just interviewed a really big name and somebody's taking photos and stuff and they'll send them to you. And I'm like, oh, I should tweet that out. I should put a quote that they've said. I should try and get some pickup from it. I should do that. And I'm like, I'd rather just go back to the workroom and get a drink and just put my feet up for 20 minutes because I know I haven't got an interview for the next half an hour. Like that's very much the mode I'm in. And I used to be. This is the one thing. Like you joked about putting my headset on and I'm taking up way too much of your time, but it's fine. I'm having fun. I used to be the guy, like you used to see this when there was only 2 or 3 of us that came and we had like a really basic setup and not all that fancy stuff you see over there now. I used to be like the guy who booked the interviews, recorded the interviews, edited the interviews, put them out on YouTube, sent them back to the sale, built them. Like we were one-man bandish. Now I've got 3 or 4 other people here. I turn up, I talk, I leave, and I love it.
That's. You're because you're big time.
Exactly.
You're
He's famous.
You know,
Big time.
I mean,
Willie, that's what they call me.
the Scott Van Pelt of the UK.
That's what you kept
Kevin-
introducing me as that at the party last night.
Kevin Harlan. Well, I mean,
I'll take Kevin Harlan.
because you're doing play-by-play. You do all kinds of stuff. I mean, you're
very
big
kind.
time.
It's too kind. Scott.
Wembenyama!
Scott, by the way, one of like when we first started out, he did. You know, he used to do on his late night version of ESPN where he'd do like his big rant. One time he did his big rant about why the international series is a terrible idea, and we were like a nothing little podcast at this point and weren't really doing anything. And we tweeted him and we were like, actually, here's why you're wrong. And he DM'd us and was like, let's talk. And came on our show, and then later that year got us tickets to the Open at Royal Liverpool because he was doing it for ESPN, and we got to sit in his box and watch Rory McIlroy come round 17 as he went to what turned out to be. We were like, this is major number 4 of a career where he's going to challenge Tiger Woods, and he hasn't won another one in the intervening 11 years.
Will Gavin from TalkSport. We got to pay some bills, and we got to talk some Spurs coming up. You want to do a Spurs segment? That's basketball.
Yeah, I know it's basketball. Have you traded for anyone?
De'Aaron
Fox. He makes his debut. He makes his debut tonight.
So you were on the bad end of one
in
of the
about
trades.
15 minutes. We'll talk
We're
about
not
it.
the Dallas Mavericks.
Coming up, you're on the Blitz on 94.1 at San Antonio Sports Star.